Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to show 250, chapter 12. This is my arrival, as you know, and I was in the Children of God a sect led by David Berg, Moses David, and there was they had communities all over the world. You know, they were kind of liberal Christians, you know, sort of hippie-ish. They believed in sexual freedom, but eventually they went a little too far, and that I'll later explain. But you know, I was an independent thinker. That was a no-no in the group. You know, no, they didn't want no independent thinkers. They wanted everybody to be sheep who follow. And if you had questions or doubts about the prophet, the great prophet of Ezekiel 34, David Berg, or known as Moses David, you were murmuring or you were listening to the devil. That was their philosophy about that. So you just had to be a yes man. You know, no murmuring and no doubting, just believing. So I was an independent thinker. They didn't like that because I met Jesus Christ before I met the children of God. Most of them met Jesus Christ through Moses, David Berg, and the children of God. So there was a worship of David Berg. There was a worship of him as the end time prophet, right? Whereas in my case, I knew Jesus before I met them, the hippie Jesus. I'm not talking about the church. I'm not talking about the religious Jesus. I'm talking about the hippie Jesus. That's who I met. And so, you know, I already had Jesus in my, you know, two idols couldn't fit in my heart. You know what I'm saying? You got to choose one, God or Mammon. So I chose God. I chose my Jesus, independent from all religions, all cults, all sects. Not all denominations, just independent, completely free and independent to worship God the way I feel like it, according to my personality, and to interpret the Bible the way I feel like it, and to be allowed to question. And I don't, to the point that I don't believe that the entire Bible is the holy word of God. There's a lot of shit that they put in there. Okay, they put a lot of shit in there. They added it onto the situation, you know, for purposes of manipulation and fear. You know, hellfire if you don't submit to the church and pay your dues, you know, hellfire for eternity. Look at that. So they sent me to Bolivia, I think, to kind of get rid of me. You know, they figured, oh, let's send this guy way up in the Andes, you know, over four, you know, very high. That's like Bolivia must be like, I don't know, 14,000 feet above sea level or something. I know it's like 4,500 meters above sea level. It's super high, man. The capital, La Paz, and that's where they sent me, to one of the communities there. And, you know, I got to say something, that the peons, because there was two societies in the group. There was the leadership, who normally came from money, from richer echelons of society. The leadership, they were treated differently, right? They had privileges. And then there was the peons, you know, the high school dropouts, or the ignorant people, the lower class, you know, what they considered, you know, that didn't have much of an education or much money. They were the ones that had to wash the dishes, go out in the streets and distribute the mold letters, you know, for money, and do the hard work and clean and mop. And they were the peons, the proletariat. So they had the bourgeoisie and they had the proletariat. I was obviously part of the proletariat. But I will tell you, within the proletariat of that sect of the Children of God, Family of Love of David Berg, within the proletariat, I met some beautiful people. I mean, some real good souls, man, that were there only to worship Jesus. You know, sincere. They really believed everything in sincerity, and they really wanted to change the world. And David Berg knew how to speak to these people and convince them, you know, we're here to change the world. And, you know, so we did a lot of good stuff, man. We went to prisons and, you know, sang. One good thing about the Family of Love and the Children of God, just like they say about religion or Christianity in general, one of the greatest contributions of Christianity was the music. The music. That's the blues, rock and roll, music came from religion, from Christianity. And the Children of God, man, they produced some good music, good songs with a message, you know, not religious, just about love and peace and love, you know what I'm saying? So we would do concerts like in prisons and stuff, and we did a lot of good stuff, and go out and distribute them all letters. Some of them were pretty cool. And so, you know, we were part of the peons, and within the peon proletariat population, I met some cool people, okay? I mean, some good souls that I have in my heart. Some nice people, and then there were some assholes, but especially the leadership, man. They were an asshole community. The leadership. I had some problems with them. So they took me to Bolivia. I served there in La Paz for a year. Going out every day, distributing Mo letters, not for free. We had to get a donation, and they had a quota system. Like, you were not allowed to come back to the house unless you distributed a certain amount of these pamphlets. And if it got really late, like after dinner was usually 7 p.m., if it got really late, you had to call in every hour. 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., all the way up to 12 midnight. And then finally at 12, they'd say, all right, let you come in, even if you didn't get your quota. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of rough like that, because then they sent me to Santa Cruz, Bolivia, which is nicer. It's lower. It's toward the jungle. The people are more liberal, and the girls are very beautiful, tall, jungle bunnies. And La Paz are more like, Inca type, short, stocky, square head, Inca type, more redskins. But in Santa Cruz, they were more like whitish, jungle people, tall, a lot of Germans and mixtures, and the jungle people were really liberal and a lot of fun. So it was a lot of fun to be there in Santa Cruz, and some beautiful women. Oh my God, I'd say Santa Cruz, Bolivia has some of the most beautiful women in the world. They're not into wearing brassieres. They're super liberal. Sex to them is like, sharing an empanada or something. They're very liberal, very beautiful, very sexy. So I liked it there, and they were starting to send me out with the sister a lot, to sell the Mo letters. And Santa Cruz in those days was kind of smaller than La Paz, of course. And after a while, everybody gets to see you, everybody gets to know you, and how many times can you distribute? Yeah, no, hey, perro, no, tranquilitos.
Es hembra.
Ella la hembra, es hembra.
Sí.
Oh, bacán, qué belleza, te felicito.
Sí.
Qué belleza,
¿En
compadre.
qué país es usted, mister?
Yo de Estados Unidos nacimiento, pero mi padre es cusqueño, papá cusqueño.
Ah, ya.
Pero yo nací en Estados
No,
Unidos.
mis padres son españoles,
Ah, no me digas.
pero yo soy peruano.
Ah, caramba.
Sí.
Qué bien. ¿Y viviste en España algún tiempo?
Sí, viví 3 años.
Ah, caramba. ¿Qué tal? ¿Te gusta
Pero
España?
bien.
¿Sí?
Pero acá me siento más con algarabía. Acá me gusta más el vacío.
Ah, sí, ¿no?
La huevada.
Hay más libertad, ¿no?
Claro.
Ah, oye, ya, güero, no te pongas sabrosín.
Sembrita.
Güero, no seas confianzudo.
Está buena de cacha.
El problema con el labrador que no respeta el espacio. Ya, güero, no seas eso.
Pero yo en España tengo un beagle similar
Sí.
y un kangal.
Ah, caramba.
Yo tengo un kangal, pero
Sí.
ya viejito ya.
¿En qué parte de España?
En Murcia.
Ah, mira.
Lorca.
Wow,
¿Conoce Lorca?
Yo nunca he estado en
Murcia,
Europa.
Lorca.
Nunca, pero tengo un primo que vive en Toledo. Tengo un primo que vive en Toledo.
Allá, no, en Lorca, yo estoy en Murcia, Lorca.
Wow.
El campo, que abunda la oliva.
Carajo, debe ser lo máximo.
Sí.
Caray.
Bueno, yo soy descendiente de andaluz.
Sí. Ah, mira, ese es más barato, ¿no? Más
Sí.
económico, ¿no?
Sí. Yo
Ah,
soy andaluz en sí, pero he nacido acá, pues.
sí. Qué bien, hermano. Y ya no te regresas.
Me regreso porque tengo papeles y también tengo papeles allá,
Sí,
pero
sí.
prefiero trabajar acá.
Claro.
Es más barata la vida.
No, bacán, vacilón.
Claro, pues.
Te pasaste, compadre. Pasa bonito. Mucho gusto. There we are communicating with the gentry, the general population here. We're on the beach here, in case you haven't noticed. And, people here are very sociable, very friendly. Anyway, where were we? He's born in Peru, but he lived in Spain, and is for a long time in Murcia. I don't know if anybody's been there. Good kid with his pit bull. She was a female because my lab, he's a little pain in the ass. He didn't come out like me. He came out like his mom. But anyway, okay, so the Santa Cruz, they made us, the quotas, and they had us, with a stranglehold, man. We couldn't go home till 12 midnight. Everybody already knew us. We sold everybody the pamphlets. It was getting very hard and dry to sell that quota. So there was lots of nights we were coming back at 12 midnight, me and this beautiful sister, and to be continued. We're here, we're in Lima, Peru, in the district of Chorrillos. This is the Los Cedros de Villa. Beautiful people, Peruvians, yeah, nice. You need everything. Well, yeah, like anywhere, no? Right? You got the good, bad, and the ugly. I love you. See ya.